Thank you, Angel, and Heidi. Hello, everyone. How you doing? How's your Monday treating you? Hope your weekend was wonderful. And Monday, it's a bugger of a day, isn't it? Who likes Monday? Hands up. No, didn't think so. Welcome aboard. Good to have you here, as always. Let's see what we can find for the coming week, and if not today, what we might be looking to trade throughout the next few. I've got to say, it's a bit of a battle. Hi, Paul P. Hope you're well. It is a bit of a battle. It's very, very difficult to get something running at the moment, I'm finding. And the pound is a case in point. So let's have a look at that, shall we? We traded this last week on Thursday. I think we got into this on Thursday. That's Thursday, yep. This was pretty much something that you just have to take if you trade the way I trade, because we had a double bottom sitting here. We had a higher high. We had a higher low that refused to go below the monthly pivot, and it was a red bodied candle. Now, I did anticipate that we'd have a little bit of a pause here at the weekly pivot, which is pretty much what happened, which is where we took our first take profit. In fact, we took our first take profit just about where that line is, I think. Would that be right? No, it was a bit higher. It was closer to the weekly pivot. Then we were hoping, of course, that we would go up and hit this level, which is where I was going to take some more profit. But the market at this stage has different ideas and has put up a pretty clear double top sitting there. So we are in reverse mode at the moment. That's the daily chart I'm looking at, but it looks currently like pivot hasn't held. And if that's the case, then we're going to get taken out at break even. This is both the breakout trade and this order here that we put in the market as well. It does look very, very toppy, however, this double top sitting here. What I would expect to happen, however, is a bounce off the weekly pivot, maybe a test of the daily pivot, lower high, if this is going to reverse. If it's not, and that is, of course, the hope, then we should have got some form of support here at that weekly pivot level, and a bounce maybe taking on the highs. Neither of those previous two cases looks to be in play at the moment as the bears step in. Do we want to trade it as a breakout today? Well, the answer to that would be no, primarily because we've already broken out of the lows here. And as I said, the hope here is that we go into pretty much a range until we get that lower high. And if we don't get the lower high and take on the highs, then we've got some more profit in the bank. We shall see how that runs. But at the moment, it doesn't look as though we're going to hang on here too long. The bears look to be pretty hungry as we get close to the open. We'll see how that pans out. That really is the only trade that I took last week, in fact. I think it was certainly the only one that triggered, and hanging on by the skin of our teeth there at the moment. Can't lose, of course. We took half off the table at first take profit and moved our stops. And in fact, this will be a winner. Won't be a break-even trade because we've moved our stops to entry. That was entry on 37.93. Yep. So no panic there. But, gee, I'd like to get some more out of it. As I said from the start, it is difficult to get a runner at the moment. Everything seems to be, as is the case often, coming back to our eventually to our entry without giving us a proper run at something to get some money in the bank. That hopefully will change this week. And look, at the end of the day, if that continues to be the case, there's no drama because we should get some nice ranges to trade. Let's take a look, therefore, at what the week brought into play for us. There were 6 game changer bars. Let me go through them for you and see if they're able to be traded. Also today, if we had a look at Friday's bars, there's a stack of game changer bars. In fact, I think there's more game changer bars than there are not game changer bars. I won't go through all of those, but I will go through the weeklies. And the first of them was Aussie Swissy. Now, Aussie Swissy looks to me, and from a bias point of view, I'm thinking long here, not short, but the candle has provided us with a higher high than the previous and a close on or near its low. You would hardly call that a reversal bar based on this one, however. But there you go. Sometimes that's just the way it works. If you wanted to trade these game changer bars, then you would simply put an entry, and don't put an entry bang on the low of the candle. Give it some space. It is a weekly chart after all. You've got to give it a little bit of space underneath it and a little bit of space on top of it, say 5, 7, 8 pips, whatever you fancy. But you don't want to go in at the extremes, because 1 or 2 pips over a week is really nothing. And it's not unusual for this kind of thing to happen, where you get a high, a few pips higher, a couple of pips in this case, and then it goes in the opposite direction. So they're the kind of things you don't want to be caught in. So give it a little bit of room up the top, a little bit of room up the bottom on these bigger time frames charts before you put your entries and your stop losses. Look, I am tempted to take this, and the reason I'm tempted to take this is because there's plenty of room to an untested monthly pivot. We're just about halfway through the month, so this should start to get a little bit of magnetism about it, if you like. You also got a potential left shoulder, a bit of a head sitting there. So I'm thinking maybe this could provide us with a right shoulder, and there's a great place for that to occur, one would have thought. So I don't think that's the worst of them, Aussie Swissy, but just doesn't fit the eye properly for me. Look, I'm going to give it today and see what happens. You've really got the hint of a lower high there, but it's more of a fall still underway to my mind than it is a lower high. Lower high to me is, okay, come down, give us a bit of support here, then come up and give us a swing. This, to my mind, isn't a swing. It's just part of a little bit of a noisy section. But you've got to be thinking retracement is on the cards here after all of this, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 of the last 10 or 10 days in that run were positive. Is that enough retracement? Maybe it is. But I'd still be thinking, each way all day. Don't know which one. Not convinced. But the candle's telling me short, and perhaps that makes sense. Untested daily pivot down here. I'm going to give it today and see what happens off the weekly pivot if it hits it. That's Aussie Swissy. The second was the Kiwi. Been trying my little butt, I'll put it that way, my little butt off to get into this long, and for the sake of all things, it just won't kickstart. I had a look at the weekly chart for the last few weeks, which is telling me that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the last 12 weeks on this currency pair has been bearish. And it's relentless, doesn't stop. And for the life of me, the only thing I can glean from that is that this is a COVID thing. The market just doesn't like what's going on in Australia at the moment in terms of the COVID, and it's yelling at us that it doesn't like it. Why the Kiwi? Why is the Kiwi so strong against it when Kiwi's got its own issues with COVID at the moment? One would have thought. I don't know. All I can say is when this happens, it just can't go on forever. We're at 103 at the moment, 103 and a bit. I've got to be thinking we're due for a retracement. Can I just go, okay, let's get into the market then and trade it long? Answer no. I'll be waiting for something of a double bottom, bullish engulfing bar, head and shoulders, something to tell me that this is about to go. And at this point in time, I just cannot see it. Hourly chart's interesting. You could call that a left shoulder. You could call that a head. You could call that a right shoulder. But how do you get in? You just trade that bar there. Maybe you could have if you saw it That's an hourly chart. I don't trade at that time of day. Looks like that might have been the trade to the daily pivot. You would be in a pretty safe place at the moment if that were the case. But for mine, I just can't see an entry right now. 4-hour chart may give it to us, but not now. I've got to see a break and retest or something. Anything that suggests to me that it can go. You'll recall that last week we traded the game changer bar here. Fortunately, well, it's not fortunate, it's good management actually, because we knew the Aussie interest rate was about to be announced. So we cancelled the order and look what happened. Taken in, and you'd be just squashed in a move like that. So we didn't get involved in that. We replaced the order, however, which never got triggered. So I'm still waiting, and I will be looking for Aussie Kiwi to at least retrace back to here, at least, if not reverse at some stage. A lot depends on COVID, I believe. CAD Swiss was or is another on the weekly chart. Again, a game changer bar to the short side. You've got a trade line there as well, supporting that, I guess, or resisting it, if you like. So yes, you could expect to pull back off that trade line, maybe down to here, maybe down to that, whatever that level is that I've chosen to highlight. There it is. That's why I've highlighted it, because it is a key level. Again, you've got a bit of a double top. You've got a lower low, you've got a lower high, you've got a lower low, you've got another lower high. Why not? I get it. Is it the best? Not in my book, but it's there. It's totally there. The horizontal level's been broken, and now we're copying a retest of that. Maybe this is the candle to trade rather than that one, but this is indicating to me, as does it always with these game changer bars, that the next direction is down. Got to be careful when you look at game changer bars. If you ever want to trade them, you've really got to put them into context, as with everything else. Now, the context around game changer bars is, what is the main theme? What is the big picture? So you've got to tie those two things together. And I'm not talking trend. Often it will be trend, whatever the trend is. What I'm talking is, what is the big picture? Let me go to a CAD Swift chart if I've got one. I do. Okay, what is the market structure? What is the key factor that is driving this market? From that chart, I ain't got nothing. To me, that's just a range for the last, 2015, since the decoupling of euro to the Swissy. So I've got nothing there. The weekly chart is telling me, what's the dominant force here? Maybe what I see here is the market structure is an ascending triangle up through here, across there, or even across here. So maybe that retest of that horizontal level, which may or may not be the top of the ascending triangle, makes sense to me. So we have got to bounce off that, and we're seeing that. So that to me is the dominant market structure at this point in time. So I'm thinking long rather than anything else. Then I look at my key reversal bar, if you like, or my game changer bar, and it's telling me go the opposite direction. So I'm not going to take that. And that's what I mean by don't trade these if they don't agree with what the major component of the market structure is. Now, the major component of this market structure, of course, is the double top and the lower lows and lower highs. So you're entitled to trade it down to there, I believe, but you've got to take that big picture into mind. So you wouldn't want to trade through that big support level, which is here, right? Break, retest, that way. That's what I see anyway. So CAD Swiss for me is not a longer term or even a medium term, but I can totally see there's a trade there down to this level, but that's it as far as it goes. Look, just a couple more, and I won't dwell on all these. Euro, Aussie, the last three, Euro, Aussie was one, is telling me long. I've got a total mixed bag here. I've got a false break of the resistance trade line. If we go to the daily chart, I've got a false break of the support trade line, and I'm at a strong resistance level. No trade here for me. It's got to be clearer than that. Bigger pictures telling me short, smaller pictures telling me long. what do? Leave it alone and let the market decide, and then go with the market. Euro Swissy, which I think Ash will come in a minute, and we'll talk about trade of the week. To my mind, this is the most obvious trade for me for this week based on the game changer bars. And it's a short Euro Swissy. I've got a resistance trend line. I've got a horizontal level, which has been rejected already last week. Pardon me. I've got what else? The dominant factor to me is indeed this key level. And the key level is snake-like, right? Price is going through it, but every time we come to it, we get a reaction, whether it is off it, through it, off it, through it, off it, through it. I'm tipping off it this time, and I've got a bar to agree with that. So we've tried 1, 2, 3, 4, broke it, came back underneath it, retesting it. I think this is, for me, the trade of the week, Euro Swissy. And, of course, I've told you about the Aussie Kiwi. I'm still trying to find a long. It's not there at the moment. The only other one is Euro Aussie, which I think I just spoke about. It's giving me signals in both directions, so I'll stay out of that one. So, mate, that's pretty much me. Let's see how that pound's going. Are we still in or are we out? By gosh, we're in by the skin of our teeth. But that's a profit exit. It's not a loss. That's really going to be troublesome. That is at break even. We've already taken profit, so it'll only be a winner. I was hoping for much more. Why is the pound sinking today, Ash?
Well, we got some inflation data due, so I think that's probably maybe just making people just take a bit of profit. You know, the pound's been on a pretty good run recently, so it's encouraging, I think, a bit of profit taking. Let's talk about the pound and also the Ftse. I have got a trade on the Ftse, but I wouldn't really want to lead anybody into this one because there's not a lot to aim for, and I don't know what people's strategies are going to be, which kind of suggests that, you know, I don't know where your stops are going to be is ultimately the key here. And I'm going to show you what I've done, but it's not really probably going to suit everybody. Let me give you this. Let's do it like that.
Sure. Lewis, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Stops. So I haven't checked that. Today I'll have a look at it and get back to you.
So here's the Ftse trade. Now, as I say, I wouldn't really advise anybody get into this. I'm only aiming for a little bit. I'm even getting out before the weekly pivot. It's not that I don't think the Ftse could rally a bit further. There's a little trend line in here which suggests that first contact is relatively close to where we are right now. So I'm not looking to make much out of this. And in honesty, when I was looking at this on the 15, you look where I bought right at the high, and I didn't want to do that. What I was really after was it coming down here. But every time I take a trade, I always make a judgment call. Is it likely to get here before it gets here? And as things were moving on, I kind of made the judgment call that it's probably more likely to get here first rather than down here. So I pulled the trigger. But as I say, where do you put stops on things like this? You know, it's just very, very difficult. My approach was I'll buy in here, and if it does come down, I'll buy again down here, and probably buy one more level. So I was really looking at 3 levels. I was looking at along here. I was looking where we are really at this point here. There was a little trend line here as well, which I'll draw here. And that was the issue. It started to go through the trend line, and you know, when just before the market opened up, it was caged under here. But as soon as it popped up there, I was thinking, okay, this might well get to that point before it's going to get down here. So that's the reason I decided to take the trade. And with the pound kind of coming back now a little bit, then the Ftse's got a little bit more chance. But let's talk about the pound. Let's talk about some of the potential drivers today. I don't even know whether the Ftse is going to get here. It looks okay to get up there before. Has it taken that level out? Not quite. It didn't take that level out there. Is it likely to get there before it comes down? I don't know. Is the honest answer, but we'll see what happens. And as I say, this isn't really one of those that I could give trade advice on. There's just not enough risk to reward for people that are trading on a percentage basis of their account and then using stops. That's just not my approach. You know, my approach isn't to use stops in the same way as everybody else, because mine's more about not using leverage. You know, and it makes it a hugely different outlook ultimately. My main concern is picking direction, and the one thing that I would be confident in saying is that if you are looking for a short in the Ftse today, be very, very careful, because it doesn't look to me like it's going to be coming too far down. But if you're looking for a long, then you're more likely to be on the right side of the market. So because I'm looking for a long, I'm just I've taken the trade. Now let's have a look at the fundamental data and what we have coming up and what we've had so far. Now that we know there's been a little bit of a global slowdown across the board, and PPIs from Japan have been released today, and not too hot. Now, when we're looking at what's going on with the pound, this isn't the important stuff. What I want to get to is this, which is on Wednesday, and it could be a bit early for people to be taking too much profit. You know. Oh, hold on a second. You haven't got my screen there, have you? I need to do a new share. There we go. Here we go. So we got this going on here instead. So yeah, so this is what we're looking for. So it's Wednesday the 15th. Not the pound won't necessarily come down. We'll have a look at the pound's price action in a moment. But I think the key is here that we do have this this CPI data, and look at the forecast. I mean, there's a massive jump there from 2% to 2.9%. So you know they're looking for almost a 50% jump in CPI data, and that's a fairly seismic jump in the data. Oh, what's happened there? I'm just checking. I think one of my accounts has taken profit earlier than I thought on the Ftse, which is a good thing, to be honest. Yeah, it's taken profit a bit earlier than I thought. Oh, I didn't set the parameters high enough on the other one. Okay, all right, I might have to come back into that. That's the one I wanted anyway. Okay. Anyway, so we got CPI data from the United Kingdom. Now we've got to watch China, because look at the forecasts on what's going on with China. A dip down in retail sales, fixed asset industry production and unemployment rate, not probably quite as significant, and maybe we don't worry too much about those numbers, but definitely this retail sales number is pretty important, because what happens in China will of course impact the rest of the world. Particularly, it's going to impact what happens in the UK, and it will also impact what happens in Germany. I mean, this oftentimes you'll see what happens in China will kind of filter through to what happens in Germany 3 months down the line, because Germany tends to export quite a lot to China. So we've got to watch out for what's happening with Chinese growth. And we do have this kind of limited kind of growth story going on. It's not that things aren't growing, but the growth is becoming ever more limited. So it may not be a situation where the global growth is going to continue, and then we're starting to be a bit more comfortable about what the central banks are going to do. But then we come to the other side of it, and we see CPI data. Now, if this does come in at 2.9%, as I say, that's a big jump. And I wonder what will happen to the pound at that time. If we check out what's going on with the pound, we know that we've got. No, I'll make sure I keep my eye on that at the same time. So let me bring the pound in, and we'll have a quick look at this, and I'll just have to keep my eye on the price points of the Ftse. Might be about to get a trade on the Ftse actually for you guys. Is this every chance now, because it's coming back. Right, so we know that we have the pound, I mean, look at the chart pattern on the pound on something like the pound Aussie, which is probably one of my favorite pairs. If I was going to trade the pound short, I would really like it against the Aussie. I mean, it's a great chart pattern here. Definitely making lower lows and lower highs. Nice cycles coming down in the market here. And if we were just purely following the cycles, and we're just thinking about the structure, the market structure here, this high here starts to break down this low point here, and the downtrend really is starting to get a bit more confirmation. So if this does hold here, then that would suggest confirmation. A bar like this, it's very, very early in the day, so I'm not sure whether we're definitely going to get this bar. But a bar like this would suggest a further move down by the close of the day. Maybe we're even starting to look intraday to see what happens, because there's no real news against the UK right now. There's no real news against the economy. And nothing that would suggest that we should be looking at pound shorts really just yet. But the fact that people have started to move before that data has been released may suggest that that's going to be the direction of travel for the next 3 days. And then looking for opportunities in something like the pound Aussie seems to me to be possibly a prudent thing. Now, you're about to sort of discuss trade of the week. This may well be mine. A pound Aussie short. On the 4 hour, you would probably, do we need to trade the 4 hour? Yes, if we haven't got that bar on the daily. So if the bar comes on the daily, but by the end of today, if we get that reversal bar, well worth taking a punt on it. But if we don't, then we can start looking at something like this instead. A breakdown of this level, a return to this level, and then we can look for the short. So I think we can start flipping timeframes a little bit just to get our position on. As I say, if the daily doesn't provide us an opportunity, but the 4 hour does, then I think the 4 hour is okay to look for.
I just wonder when the market's going to flip with the Aussie in regards to COVID, because it's been caning it because of the situation in New South Wales and Victoria. I just wonder when that ends.
Difficult to know, isn't it? And also, when we're talking about China, difficult thing with trying to trade the pound specifically against China. We also know that Australia's got a huge exposure to China, so it's the balance almost. You'd have to get right into the minutiae and sort of like say, okay, well, what part of China is starting to contract, and which nations will that impact the highest? And you could absolutely do that to get maybe a more comfortable judgment call. I don't think you could make a clear judgment call on it, but maybe a more comfortable judgment call could be made that way. Looking at the hourly, I think with the hourly, when you're looking at the hourly on the pound Aussie, I think you're looking at the same trend line. I don't think you're really worried about this low here. Okay, yeah, you could take something, but that doesn't look to be significant enough to suggest that we'd be going down longer term. So yeah, you might get from this point here to this point here, you might get from a break and some sort of retest down to there. But whether you get follow through, I'm not so sure. Might be more likely to get something like a head and shoulders pattern up here, which would be much more palatable to see, because the great thing about if we saw a pattern like this would be that there's the head and shoulders pattern there. That's how it could play out. The better thing about this is that the price point it breaks the trend line is higher. So and I wouldn't want to trade it on the right shoulder. I'd want to see this sort of thing come down, then come back up again before taking the short. Sorry, the angles of those levels aren't great. Let's just do that again properly. Yeah, if that was to come down and then retest there, then that would be close enough, maybe even to that high up there, the breakout point. So it looks to me like the kind of price we're at, 1.875 maybe, is probably the key price for me, mate. And if I saw that happen during the week, then I'd be quite keen on a pound Aussie short. But as you say, fundamentally, I'm not sure whether the Australian dollar would come into play on the week specifically. COT data suggests there's a lot of interest in the Australian dollar right now. Seasonally, it's
I think
not
because
great.
It's been caned. That's so hard.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, mate. You know, if you kind of go back to what the what's been happening with the pound, I suppose over the last year, you're absolutely right. I mean, when it comes down to it, we're all speculating on what's going to happen next. And if we think about where we were with the pound, and let's just bring it up against the dollar instead. Think about where we were with the pound at the start of the year, which comes down to here. This is really the start of the year here. Look what happened. It drove all the way up to around about the mid of the year, because I think that the UK economy was one of the worst suffered out of Brexit aside. Really, was one of the ones that suffered the most out when COVID kind of hit, because it handled it so badly. So inevitably there were people kind of going, okay, well, when it does recover, it's going to, it's got the most chance for growth. That's why we'll speculate on it. It's got the most chance for kind of like when it gets out of it. It's not that things are really strong in the UK, but the bounce back is much more likely to be much more likely to be profitable than anywhere else, because it's got the most chance to kind of start catching up. So in some respects, you're kind of looking for the weakest currencies or countries that get hit by an economic fallout. Because you know that the bounce back is probably most likely to help them the most. Now that bounce back has happened, we're down to sort of like something a little bit more equal. So we can start now focusing on who will be the front runner the next time round. Is it likely to be the pound? Well, maybe, but there would be a huge question mark, I think, on that particular philosophy. So I wouldn't be massively interested in in trading the pounds long anymore. And if you look at this chart as well, this has also got relatively negative signs here. Big right shoulder there, big left shoulder there, big head there, and there's the right shoulder coming into play here. So we have our head and shoulders reversal pattern potentially happening here as well. There it is there. Does it start to break down? Possibly so. And what a great little spot to try and pick it up on the right shoulder. It looks like for longer term,
a very clear double top there as well on the
what a long
4 hour chart.
You're talking about along here, probably, right? I mean,
no, just the two ears there that you can see. What are you on the daily chart?
Yeah,
Fridays bar and what, Tuesdays probably.
Fridays and Tuesdays, okay.
No, Fridays and Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Mondays, or last Friday. Actually, Friday to Friday.
Which are when these
week
two?
Apart. Yeah.
I'd agree with that. What's the trend line like here as well? That's that's not great. I mean, that makes it a bit more tricky.
Dromedary or Bactrian?
What we've got? How many humps have we got?
Well, you just drew them.
I've just drawn it.
Yeah, the break of there's two humps.
Two humps.
Yeah,
well, it's a Bactrian then.
There you go.
Yeah, this one here and this one here. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we came down to a 4 hour, it's a lot clearer on the 4 hour, isn't it? And interesting, and this is what makes it tricky, is that you've got a little inverted head and shoulders on the 4 hour. So there's going to be trades in both directions, and I think when it comes down to it, which of course there always are, but who's going to win at this stage, I think is unclear. So I think what it comes down to is this level is relatively significant. Where was it before? We were talking about there's on the pound Aussie, wasn't it? On the pound Aussie, this level really, this low on the pound dollar is significant. 1.375. A break and a retest of that would be better, because that would also be a break and retest of this trend line.
Yeah.
If something like this was to happen, I think that we'd be okay to kind of take it to the downside. but I just think the information is just a bit early right now. So I think it's a little bit of a wait and see when it comes down to the pound.
Yeah, I think if we do get a bounce at this level, I'll be looking to take some more profit pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you've got to be expecting a lower high now off that.
Yeah, I would have thought, mate. Yeah, I would have thought, and it's still. I mean, it'd be a pretty pretty tight range in there that wouldn't be that clear. But I do think that there's a few issues in the UK, and I think that as I say, after the kind of initial confidence that we've had after coming out of the pandemic, when restrictions were lifted, that's now subsided. So profit taking is likely, in my opinion, after the bounce. Mm-hmm. So the pound Aussie would be my trade of the week, I think, for a short.
There you go.
Yours is the Euro Swissy, which I also find quite interesting.
How does that shape up from a fundamental or indeed data point?
Well, the Swissy's been there's again, there's a few sort of like conflicting messages in some respects, but what's quite significant about Switzerland, I think we talked about it before, is that they seem to have been buying up a lot of foreign currencies.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Which is one of those things that eventually, what's likely to happen is that that will ultimately have to reverse, and when that does reverse, then we're likely to kind of get a strengthening of the Swissy. Christine Lagarde is making some pretty good noises. China and Germany is a significant aspect, but there are also elections coming up in Germany. So there's a few short-term things that we need to be kind of looking at. And the elections may actually give the euro a bit of a bounce. You know, it might actually sort of create a little bit of cheer over in Germany when we get that certainty kind of coming back in. So I think longer term, the Euro Swissy is much more likely to move lower. In the near term, I think it's probably a little bit too difficult to say, but I might edge slightly towards the upside, mate. But you're going to tell me something completely different, I think.
Oh, no, just from a technical perspective, it looks like a pretty decent spot to go short, that's all.
Yeah.
And a great candle last week for mine.
Yeah, and I have to say, you know, it's one of those that it's a difficult one to call. COT data is pretty uncommitted and non-committal, and the seasonals also don't really kind of give us much of a picture when it comes down to those two.
If you put a horizontal line across 108.70, you'll see really why I'm keen to go short currently.
Okay, I'm just checking through very, very quickly. The COT data is saying maybe a weak buy on the euro, neutral on the Swissy. Seasonally, or what? It's a buy on the euro. It's also a buy on the Swissy. On the Swissy. Fundamentally, it's kind of a weak buy on both of them. So it's a tough one, mate. Tough to call. Sorry, mate. What were you saying? To put what where?
If you put a horizontal line across 108.70, and you probably have to go to a higher chart to get the full effect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, nice, really nice.
Yeah.
That's clean.
Looks like a false break of that level to me.
It certainly does. Yeah,
and your trend line, and there's a if you put a trend line from whereabouts April, through the highs.
Yeah, you've got to be going with that, and a very, very weak looking bar pull back into this area. So you're looking at 108.70 for a potential short there.
Yep. Well, yeah, I'm happy to go in under the market at the moment. So my entry's at, well, where is it? 108.28. I'm in.
Yeah, I think that's fair, mate. I mean, because if it breaks that level, then I think there's every chance it does start to come down. Near term would almost the near-term view would kind of like lead us up to this point, but that, you know, maybe a slightly more medium-term view would start to lead us down again. So it kind of does fit the fundamental picture a little bit as well. I think it's a tough pair to trade. I think that would be my only reservation.
Yeah, a lot of people hate Euro Swissy.
Yeah.
And I understand why. Maybe they got burnt in 2015. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a long memory. 2015 still appears on the charts, you know, if you're on a weekly or
it doesn't do it on mine, unfortunately.
Doesn't it? Okay.
No. Sorry, mate, give me one moment.
Yeah, on mine it does. It still kind of haunts you, doesn't it? Wow, I was so fortunate not to be involved in that. Oh, that was just hell on earth. I think as a company, Access to Wealth dodged every bullet that threw at them.
What's that? Well, the Euro Swissy.
Yeah, the decoupling. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's luck, really, isn't it? I mean, there's so many things with this, with trading and investing that is luck. Oh, let me look at the pound CAD for Lewis. And when sort of, I mean, if you're kind of if you've picked something that you've understood and you've sort of like you've understood the underlying sort of driver with it, and you don't mortgage your house to invest in it, then you can let it play out. So that becomes less down to luck and more down to judgment. But if you've kind of got something on with leverage and particularly high leverage, and it goes your way and you make a lot of money, I think you've got to say there's a huge slice of luck there, because it could quite easily go in the opposite direction.
Totally, and you'd be singing a completely different song, I can assure you.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure you'd be singing a song at all. Yeah, let me look at the pound CAD. Pound CAD. Yeah, I think another tough pair in a lot of ways. I would just have the opinion that now if I'm looking at this on a monthly chart, very, very rangy, isn't it? I mean, look at the pound CAD. I don't know whether this is the most rangy pair we have, but it's got to be up there as one of them. I mean, it is just going absolutely nowhere. And when it hasn't gone anywhere since 2016 on the monthly timeframes. Of course, within every range there is a trend, so we're really looking to see whether we can pick up a trend on the short-term timeframes. The one thing I would say here is it's closer to the top end of that range than the bottom. So that straight away would say to me, if this currency pair or each economy stays relatively balanced in their in the marriage between the two of them, in economic kind of growth and contraction, then the pound looks to be a bit overvalued, you know, on this particular chart here. If we come down to the weekly, what's the weekly suggesting? Yeah, it's got some room to run, but it's not far. And there might even be a horizontal level through here as well. So that does look a little bit false break up there, because nowhere else really closed above. A little gap up there, but nowhere else really kind of managed to get anywhere near the above. So this, to me, Lewis, this looks a bit toppy when I'm looking at this.
That monthly chart suggesting that I should be trading it already.
What, shorts?
The monthly chart, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this 1 month back is telling me that that's a lower high.
This one here.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, on the dailies, you know, we are caught up here a little bit, and it because it's so rangy, it gets stuck. I mean, it's been stuck here since July. It got stuck here for a long time before a little bit of a breakout, and it does seem to kind of move in blocks, doesn't it? We get a block, and again, you know, this is the top end of the block on the dailies. So it would suggest that we probably we should be looking for the shorts. All things being equal, we should be probably looking for the short than the long. And we've seen how the pound has opened up this morning, and it is a little bit negative, you know, and we've got CPI data on Wednesday. Is that the driver? If it is, then we're much more likely to see this follow through for at least a couple of days. If the CPI data comes out without a Bank of England announcement saying, look, we got this under control, we got your back, no problem at all, we're going to be starting to do something with policy, the pound will stabilize, may well stabilize. But if the Bank of England haven't got anything that they want to be saying right now, then the inflation data reduces the UK spending power. So with that in mind, it's a weaker currency. So that's one of the reasons that another reason that that this inflation data is quite important. If I'm honest, I'm not quite sure how the market feels about the Bank of England's strategy. And maybe it's a bit of a wait until the next announcement kind of thing. And if it is that, then much more likely for the pound to weaken with strong inflation data, really strong inflation data. But you can see the reaction from the market saying this inflation's, we're going to 45%. We're going to have a 45% hike from the last number from the CPIs, and that from this would suggest that it's going to continue into Wednesday and maybe beyond. But important to get the technical pattern that you're after. But it certainly suggests from the potential fundamental expectation and what we've seen so far this morning with reaction that the pound is coming down against the CAD as well. I don't love the CAD, if I'm completely honest, but if you you like the CAD, do you?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the better conveyances around.
Okay, all right. Well, let's talk about that, mate.
I'm talking long term, not just now. I think it's probably got an issue at the moment with oil, but
yeah. Well, actually, I was going to say about oil. Let's have a look at oil, because the thing is that we had a bit of a supply issue because of Storm Ada, and I was interested to see what was going to happen to oil after that. Now, certainly the suggestion that the supply issue may well boost oil up. A hold above here by the end of today, maybe a retest, and that goes higher. So okay, maybe we should ignore what I just last said about the CAD, because you're right. The correlation and connection with oil is so key that if oil, and I'd forgotten that story actually when I started talking, but it's so key that we could actually start to see the Canadian dollar benefit from the lack of supply that the Storm Ada situation has created. So
and I think the BOC has already started tapering too, haven't they?
Yes, they have. Yeah. I mean, a few of them have. A few of them have. And I suppose that's the thing with this stuff, is that if the BOC start tapering and the Kiwis start tapering, we know the next few will taper. And if we go back to the philosophy of you buy the pound when things are bad in the pandemic because the bounce back will be harder. If the others are tapering first, too late to get involved with those. So now we're looking at who's next in a way, and this is where the euro. I have a bit of a struggle with a selling of the euro, because I think if anybody's going to be next, it could be the eurozone. The concern is that.
So who is the Aussie? The Aussies are the RBNZ's cut back. I don't know. The Kiwis haven't they?
The Kiwis have, yeah.
So the three Comdols have already done it.
Yes.
CAD, Aussie, Kiwi.
Yes.
Nobody else?
Nobody else, no. But there was certainly there's been a discussion, isn't there, from Europe, and this is, as I say, this is what, when we look at it, what's the point in buying those ones on the back of that data and news now, because it's gone. So what we're now trying to do is anticipate when the next guys will come in, and when they do come in, you buy the euro and the pound maybe. At the right particular point. As soon as they do it, then you're going to get rid of them and sell them back for the Aussie and the CAD, because then they're likely to be the next ones that go to the next level. The concern, of course, is that if we do get a biting winter, then without those guys having moved already, they don't have the same capacity to help the economy, and it could be problematic. So timing it is going to be quite significant, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Kiwi's been on a tear. The Aussie has suffered through COVID, or this latest COVID thing, and the CAD's just teeter-tottering, I think, and I think it's got good prospects, mate. Yeah,
well, that's what we got. Kiwi CAD, we got Kiwi Swissy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think you see the Kiwis are a really interesting one now, because while this is all going on, this is fantastic and looking really good. But as soon as the others start to announce taper, the Kiwi looks like the best one to go against, because then we're going to.
Oh, look, I think the Kiwi is way overbought. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kiwi, looking for shorts in the Kiwi may well be early, but anticipating that we're going to start getting signals may well be prudent. But maybe we should start looking at that. Oh, the CAD election. Yeah, that's another point, actually. Yeah, there's so many things to kind of keep up with, isn't there, at the minute? I had an IFP over the weekend, so I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit punch drunk. So I'm forgetting stuff, but yeah, the CAD election is another one. Let's have a look what we got with that. September 20th, okay. September 20th is not that far away, is it?
Is that a federal election?
It is the federal election, yep. Yeah. And I don't know, not being in Canada, I'm not sure who the front runners are right now.
No, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, but we need to keep our eye on that. I mean, there's so much, isn't there? Let's have a look. It's right, what's going on with this? And Germany is the week after that. So we're looking at Canada on the 20th. We're looking at Germany on the 26th. So a few things to kind of probably put a little bit of a spanner in the works, mate. In as much with some of these currencies.
I haven't done the euro yet, so we can do that.
Yeah, let's have a look at the euro. That'd be great.
Interesting. If you were trading on Friday, you should have picked up a euro short. Oh, well, if you're a slingshot trader, that is. I don't know how many people are slingshot traders, but let me show you why I wasn't. So clear, very, very clear. Put in a double top already. Had a resistance trade line. Got above it, consolidated beautifully, back underneath it, retests with a reversal bar on the daily pivot. Wow, it doesn't get much better than that. The only issue is you'd have to take profit early before the monthly pivot, but it looks like that may well hit this level, and that is going to be interesting when that does. Because if I go to the weekly chart, I see exactly the same thing going in the opposite direction. Perfect? No. But I could probably make it perfect if I wanted to, but that's not the brief that you should be doing. You shouldn't make a chart fit your purpose. The chart's there and you have to respect it. So don't want to move that, want to move that. I'll get this level right. Yeah, it's probably not even there. That's the next high there, or next low there, sorry. Let me go back. So that's your trend line / trade line. So it's very messy, and we spoke about Bactrians before. This looks very much like one. First pump, back. Second pump / hump, back, retest. Long there. Stop loss here. I'm starting to think I should be trading that on the weekly chart. But let me show you this. Early days, and we've got a couple, maybe even 3 equal highs here and 2 equal lows. That's the beginning of a range for me. Classic, I suppose, once you see the euro versus the dollar rally and then go into range, it tends to go into that range for some time. So I'm thinking this may well be an opportunity to trade it back towards the top of that range. And we are seeing that double false break after of the bottom of that range.
Is that a little inverted head and shoulders there, mate, as well?
Yeah, could be. If I put it on the daily chart, probably be more interesting. left, head right. Makes sense?
Yeah, that does look like an inverted head and shoulders. And is that on the monthly pivot?
That is the monthly pivot, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that looks like a decent place to pick that up. I don't like the fact that it's under the trend line at all. I prefer it around the weekly pivot, but
well, this is where it gets confusing, and that's what I said before. It's showing me short here on Friday. You know, if you pick that up on Friday, take profit there.
yeah,
You're probably looking at taking this back to or certainly the red line, which is where you nearly have to exit that. And I'm okay if that hits there today, because the way, and you know, I call this the slingshot edge, if you like, where if we have an untested daily pivot, the further we run away from it, the more likely we are to pick up a trade that takes it back towards it. So anything here that looks like a long, I'd be willing to jump on. In particular, if we got back above the monthly pivot, and took on that trade line and gave us a retest of the confluence area, I think that'd be a good trade.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it looks like probably a potential slightly longer term trade as well, doesn't it? Than the
Oh, totally. You know, if you can stay in this, I think there's, you know, let's have a look at it. Say you got in here somewhere. There's, well, at least 300 pips available.
Yeah.
Maybe even 5. If you can pick that up off a 20, 30 pip risk, that's a pretty good reward. So that's why and as I said, I'll do the euro every day, but that's what I see today. If you get an opportunity, however you get in the market, if you get that opportunity on the euro long today, I think you'd be in pretty good shape. I'll certainly be looking for it, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get there, to be honest. But if I got a double bottom followed by a higher low, or that break, as I said, and a retest here of the confluence area, I think that's going to be a really good opportunity.
Well, I mean, we discussed it a little bit yesterday, mate. But just to kind of update you on the COT data is suggesting a little bit of a sell with the dollar, and it's also seasonally quite weak. So there's probably enough to back up a technical strategy to kind of say that
kind of in no man's land for me, the dollar at the moment.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Lewis said he's short on the euro on the H4 on Friday, which is great. I think Lewis took a great trade on the Ftse, and I think he was holding. Did you get your final profit on the Ftse, Lewis? Because the price you put in at looks really good to me. I don't know, but I don't know if you managed to kind of get your profit and get out.
So did you trade that little buyer bar on the euro, Lewis?
Nicely done.
It was a good one.
Yeah, he's doing great at the minute. I think he's trading some really good things. We haven't discussed gold today either. I don't know whether we should or not.
Why not?
Well, I mean,
I'm now a gold trader. I told you that.
I'm glad you're a gold trader. I'm interested to get your views on gold. 1760 looks about right to me. Finish the euro first, and then we'll come to gold.
No, I was just having a look at the dollar index. That chart is up, or are we on your chart? On your chart?
No, we're on your chart, mate. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's in no man's land for me. This was another great pickup, exactly the same trade as what maybe Lewis has traded on the euro. Very clear break of resistance. Took out all the stops up here, broke back below, gave us a retest, enter short, down to this level. We spoke about that because we were talking about this level here.
Yeah, I remember.
As a sell to there and then buy it back and get back. Did I do any of those things? No. I need more time in front of the charts, obviously. Sorry, I'll digress very, very briefly. Going back to your previous question, Lewis, yes, there's my stop loss on EuroCAD on the monthly chart. So we are still in this from January 14th or 15th or whatever it was. I still think we could be in it at Christmas time. We still could, but If we're not, doesn't matter. So the stop loss has moved down to, where am I? I think I told you this a couple of weeks ago. 150 something. I can't even read it, but it's above those little rabbit ears anyway. If they get taken out, then we lose our positive swaps and the trade, but it'll still be a good win. That's right. When I become a good trader, exactly. Close at 7th. Too true. So back to the euro very, very quickly. Well, I think I'm done. I just want to trade it long. I just need to find an entry. That's all. And I can't possibly get into the market right now. That would be very, very anti my conservative approach to trading. So I've got to see a reversal of some kind. I've got to see a break and retest, or got to see a reversal candle pattern, then a higher low, something like that. But I'm really dead keen to do so. Sorry, mate. Where are we going? Oil, gold.
Yeah, let's have a look at gold. We'll wrap it up with gold. Market's actually pretty quiet today, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be. There's nothing on my radar in terms of
I think it's right on entry.
Releases.
Is that gold?
Oh.
What's that?
Oh, did you want me to go to gold?
Oh, I can go to gold if you want, mate.
I've got one here somewhere. There we go. There's my gold chart. Another expired trade. I don't think I've entered gold yet. I'll just put in a couple of orders. So we'll get rid of that.
Thing is, I mean, when it comes down to it, you're trading it in the safest possible way, aren't you? Because, you are waiting for breaks and some momentum. Whereas I tried to get in 11, I say. I gave up about $1,000 of profit because it just didn't keep going.
Yeah, well, I'm Mr. Conservative. So.
Yeah, well, I think that's the right way with this particular product, because if it goes, then it's going to go, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I still see an entry there, frankly. It hasn't got worse. The end, that which is pretty much the same level. I think I was looking at a daily share. I was looking at trading it there. So it'll be exactly the same position, exactly the same entry. It hasn't changed. But I think there's a better one if it pans out. If price would come and break that level and then get back above here, which is what, 1790, which is where price is at the moment. If we got back above that level and retested it, I think there's a far better entry than what I've already got.
Yeah.
But going back, I think you and I were speaking about this many, many moons ago, and we saw this little double bottom and thought that candle there was a really nice trade. I didn't take it, but that would still be alive if you trade in that way. I don't trade in that way because I'd be well true. But if you were prepared to hang on, that level's holding. Maybe what I'd like to see is one more dip that takes these lows out and then goes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if I continue to see setups like that, I think maybe I'll just keep putting an entry there. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I keep going back to gold is it just seems relatively unloved, and I quite like that. I like the fact that people are taking their eye off it, almost kind of discarding it. That it's not fit for purpose anymore, as everybody kind of like goes towards Bitcoin and other things that they think are a better safe haven for your money. People are taking
and I
their eyes off
suppose
gold.
There's probably a little bit of an influence there from a senior trader who's telling us that it's possible to go to 10,000 or 12,000 or something.
10,000, yeah, 10,000 was mentioned, and to be fair to him, he has said it's over a number of years, so it's more of an investment than a strategy.
Totally.
And it does mean that we can wait for the thing to line up on these shorter term timeframes, because 10,000's a long way off from 1700s. Sorry, 10,000. Yeah.
And if you get super lucky and survive, if you actually get the right entry, you know, and your stop is tight, you know, you're going to make a truckload of money out of that. If you're willing to hang on, that is. I've kind of got that in the back of my mind, and I think really crypto's given me that. The potential there is enormous if that's going to be, and really I've never ever looked to trade this way. I've never looked to trade that way. I've always been, okay, there's a resistance level, that's where my profit is. But I think in this case, if I were to get into something like this, and I've got a stop loss here, okay, I'm have to move my stop to entry, but that's it. I don't want to take any profit.
Yeah.
As soon as I get to a resistance level, I'll move my stop to entry. I haven't got a problem with that. But I don't want to take anything off the table, because if it did actually go all of that way, my problem would then become, really, I've just got a shitload of money in front of me. Am I really going to hang on till it gets to 10,000?
It's difficult.
No.
It's always a difficult question of you know, where you start taking profits in this, because you never get the whole market either way, and sometimes we don't get any of it when it comes all the way back down at us. But well, let's wrap it up, mate. I'll finish up. I don't know if you want to just do a final review, or if you're kind of done.
No, look, you know, interestingly, I'm both ways on the euro, really. Against the dollar, you know, I just really want to get into that long. And against the Swissy, I think it's my trade of the week. So
okay, mate,
one of them will probably pay off. Not sure which.
Let's have a look. Okay, fantastic. Well, I'll finish up with just a final review of the Ftse. It's not really, as I say, it's not a tradable prospect today for, I think, most people. It's very, very slow today so far, and there, if you're going to be looking for it, then you are looking for upside rather than downside on the Ftse. And I think if you did manage to get some upside at a decent price, you'd be okay. It hasn't taken my profit yet. It came down and dipped. The hourly bar that we just had suggests that there may well be an opportunity a little bit lower. Let's just check the 15 and see if that did. No, it hasn't come back. That's the point that I'll be interested in on this 15. I think there's somewhere in this range here. So around about 17. Oh no, this is going to be no good for you guys, because that's on the futures. Let me just bring it up for you on the cash. Yeah, it looks like it's here. 70.36. Yeah, 70.36 looks like the entry if you can get it. Anything before that just doesn't look like it's going to be safe enough. I'm going to have to go back to the futures because I find that chart really, really confusing. 16 down. $16 down's there. Actually, it's these lows. Yeah, it looks like it's this low here. So 70.50 looks like the entry on the Ftse. But if you're using kind of stop losses and stuff in this area, it is tough. I don't know where you're going to put stop losses. If you got a turnaround here, then maybe you could put a stop loss under a bar. That's the price point, and the direction is higher. But how you kind of trade it from here on in is just not very clean. So so I don't know how to advise on that, really.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit cloudy, isn't it? Obviously, we're talking about things that are correlated, but the pound has survived the weekly pivot at the moment. It looks as though the weekly pivot may indeed provide a bit of support. Like I said before, if that is the case and I do get a bounce, I am going to look to take some more profit, because that the daily chart and the weekly chart now looks ominous for a long. That does. So yeah, okay. If we get the bounce, I want to put some more in the bank.
Okay, mate, sounds good. Okay, so tomorrow you will be in with Shukri, and then on Wednesday I'll be in with Ainsley.
Yep.
And we'll be back together on Thursday. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Slow but interesting session, I think. And Swee, you are an absolute warrior to be in here today. Both Swee and I were both on an event this weekend. And Tominic's here as well. My goodness me. Tominic was the full warrior of the weekend. I think he was the kind of king of the weekend, actually. Hello, mate. I can't believe you're in as well. Swee's in zombie mode. Yeah, so I think Swee and Tominic will appreciate the kind of lack of prep for today, to be fair, mate. But fortunately, I don't think there's a whole bunch of prep that needs to be done, because I don't think there's anything huge going on today, except for a potential bit of a long in the Ftse. But
it looks a bit like Open was okay, let's get back into it, and now it's Monday. Nah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've definitely got a little bit of that Monday feeling about me as well. And I'm sure Swee and Dominic will have. They were really right. I can't tell you how run off their feet they were. It was a bit of a crazy one this weekend, mate. It was probably more hectic than normal. And I was up at 1 every morning as well, and kind of like, working through. So my time balance is a bit off kilt as well. So tomorrow I should be. Oh, actually, I'm not even with you. By Wednesday, I'll be fully recovered.
You'll be back on the whole 2 cylinders that you got available to you.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay. Have a good one tomorrow. We'll catch up Thursday, and everyone else catch you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.